While I was losing my leg in Afghanistan, my parents were blowing my $73,000 combat pay on casino trips and luxury cars. When I came home, broken and needing help, my father called me a burden at Christmas dinner in front of the whole family. 3 years later, I pulled up in a Tesla and made him beg for forgiveness in front of the same people who watched him throw me away. December 23rd, 2018. I'm sitting at our family dinner table in Birmingham, Alabama, fresh off a medical discharge after an IED blast took my right leg in Afghanistan. I had PTSD so bad that car backfires sent me diving for cover. But I'm home with family for Christmas, right? The same family I'd been sending my entire combat pay to for 3 straight years. What happened next would either destroy me or forge me into something unstoppable. See, I grew up watching my daddy James work himself to death at the steel mill, while Mama Dorothy cleaned rich folks' toilets just to keep our lights on. We weren't poor, but we weren't rich either. That's what I thought anyway. When I turned 18, I made a decision that would expose the truth about the people I called family. I enlisted in the army thinking I was going to be their hero. Most parents would say, "Be safe or we're proud of you." Mine? First words out of Daddy's mouth. "How much they gonna pay you, son?" Mama didn't even look up from her magazine. "You think you could send some money home for Daniel's college fund? Not 'we love you,' not 'come home safe,' just money." That should have been my first warning, but I was young and stupid and thought family loyalty was sacred. Here's where it gets crazy, and you're not going to believe what they did while I was risking my life for them. My first deployment was Iraq, 2016. Desert heat that could melt your brain, constant danger lurking everywhere. Sandstorms that would blind you for hours, mortar attacks that had us diving into bunkers 3 times a week. Every night I'd lay on that thin military cot, staring at the ceiling of our makeshift barracks, thinking about home. But every month, like clockwork, I sent $2,400 home to Birmingham. That was almost my entire paycheck. I kept maybe $300 for myself while eating cardboard MREs and drinking water that tasted like chlorine, thinking my family was struggling back home. Every month brought desperate letters. "Oliver baby, we need help with the bills." So I sent more. Christmas bonuses, combat pay, hazard pay, everything went straight to their account. I remember one particular night in Fallujah when we lost 3 guys in our unit to a roadside bomb. I was writing a letter home, tears mixing with desert dust on the paper, telling Mama how scared I was, but how I was doing it all for them. How every dollar I sent was soaked in blood, sweat, and the constant fear of never making it home. But what they were really doing with my money was about to blow my mind. My second deployment was Afghanistan, 2017. And this is where my world exploded. Literally, the Taliban had stepped up their attacks, planting more advanced IEDs. Our convoy routes were getting hit almost daily. Command kept telling us we were making progress, but all we saw were more body bags going home. We were escorting a supply convoy through the Helmand province when everything went wrong. I was in the lead Humvee with my squad leader, Sergeant Rodriguez, a guy from Texas who had 2 kids and a wife back home. We were maybe 10 minutes from base when the world turned upside down. The IED blast flipped our Humvee like a toy. The sound was like thunder and lightning hitting at the same time. When the smoke cleared, Rodriguez was gone. Just gone. I held his dog tags while his blood mixed with desert sand, and my right leg, let's just say it wasn't attached the way God intended anymore. The pain was indescribable. Not just physical, though having your leg blown off feels like being struck by lightning while on fire, but the emotional pain of losing Rodriguez, of seeing that convoy attack that killed 4 good men, of realizing I might never walk normal again. 3 months in military hospitals, first in Germany, then Walter Reed in Washington. Surgery after surgery, learning to walk with a prosthetic. Physical therapy that made me cry grown man tears. Phantom pain that felt like my missing leg was still being blown apart every single day. But through it all, I kept sending money home. Because that's what sons do, right? Even when the army doctors were telling me I might never work a regular job again. Even when I was learning to shower sitting down. Even when I was having nightmares so bad they had to sedate me. I kept sending that money. What I discovered when I got home will have you questioning everything you know about family. December 2018, Daniel picked me up from the Birmingham airport. I hadn't seen him in 2 years, and he looked good. Too good. Designer clothes, fresh haircut, gold chain around his neck that probably cost more than my monthly disability check. "Whose ride is this?" I asked, looking at the brand new Lexus we were getting into. He got quiet for a minute, then said it was Mama's new car. I thought maybe she got a promotion at the cleaning company, but something felt off. The car still had that new car smell, leather seats, premium sound system. This wasn't the kind of car you buy when you're struggling to pay electricity bills. The drive home was weird. Daniel kept changing the subject when I asked about family finances. When I asked how they'd been managing while I was in the hospital, he just said, "You know Mama and Daddy, they always figure it out." But the truth was about to hit me like another IED. First night home, sitting around the dinner table, Mama had gone all out. Fried chicken, mac and cheese, cornbread, green beans, sweet potato pie, all my favorites. For a minute, it felt like old times. Like I was just Oliver coming home from school, not Staff Sergeant Oliver Washington coming home from war with one leg and a head full of trauma. Until Daddy started talking about my future, like I was some kind of charity case. "Oliver, now that you're back, you need to figure out what you're going to do with yourself. Can't just sit around collecting disability checks like some kind of welfare case." I'm sitting there, confused. I'd been sending them most of my pay for 3 years. I figured I could take a minute to recover, maybe get help with this PTSD that had me jumping at every sound, maybe figure out how to be a civilian again. That's when Mama dropped the first bomb. "Son, that money you sent helped, but we got our own bills to pay. You're grown now. You need to contribute to this household or find your own place." I felt like I'd been slapped. "Mama, I sent you all over $2,000 every month for 3 years, while I was getting shot at." "That was then, baby. This is now. You're home, you're safe, and you need to start taking care of yourself." But what came next exposed the betrayal that would fuel my revenge for years. I asked to see the bank statements, just trying to understand where all that money went. Maybe they'd invested it. Maybe they'd saved some for emergencies. That's when Daniel couldn't take it anymore. His voice was shaking, and I could see he'd been carrying this weight for months. "Oliver, man, I can't keep lying to you. They bought a brand new Cadillac Escalade last year. Mama's been going to the Wind Creek Casino every weekend, sometimes twice a week. They took 3 trips to Atlanta this year, staying in fancy hotels, eating at expensive restaurants." The room went dead silent. You could hear the old grandfather clock in the hallway ticking. $73,000 of my combat pay, money earned while dodging bullets and watching friends die, gone on cars, gambling, and vacations while I was eating scraps in the desert. They what? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Daniel pulled out his phone, started showing me pictures. Mama at the casino, Daddy standing next to a brand new Escalade with a big smile, both of them at some fancy restaurant in Atlanta with steaks that probably cost $50 each. Instead of apologizing, instead of showing any shame, Daddy got defensive. "We work hard for our money, Oliver. We deserve to enjoy ourselves sometimes." "Your money?" I'm trying to stay calm, but my prosthetic leg was shaking. "Daddy, I sent over $70,000 while I was getting shot at. That's not your money. That's blood money." Then Mama said something that shattered my heart into a million pieces. "Oliver, baby, you chose to join the army. We didn't ask you to send that money. We appreciated it, but we didn't ask for it. And now you're back here, can't work with that leg situation, having panic attacks at every little sound. We love you, son, but we can't take care of a grown man who can't take care of himself." I sat there in stunned silence. 3 years of eating MREs while they ate steaks. 3 years of sleeping on military cots while they slept in beds I'd helped pay for. And now they were telling me it was my choice, but Daddy took it to a level that would haunt him forever. The next day was Christmas Eve. Extended family came over. Aunts, uncles, cousins. I brought gifts, but they were cheap stuff from Dollar General because that's all I could afford after sending them everything I had for 3 years. A vanilla candle for Mama, a leather wallet for Daddy, some candy for the kids. I watched Mama open that $3 candle, and the look on her face was like I'd handed her a piece of trash. She tried to smile, but I could see the disappointment. Daddy didn't even pretend to like his wallet. He just set it aside and said, "Thanks, son," in a voice that let everyone know he thought it was garbage. Meanwhile, I'm watching them open gifts from other family members, expensive perfume, nice clothes, electronics, things that cost more than my entire Christmas budget. Then Daddy looked at me across that table, in front of everyone, Grandmama, Uncle Robert, Aunt Patricia, all the cousins, and said words that would change both our lives forever. "Son, if you can't contribute to this household financially, if you can't buy decent gifts for your family, if you can't be the man this family needs, then maybe you need to find somewhere else to be. We don't need a burden bringing down our Christmas spirit." A burden. He called me a burden, in front of everyone. The table went silent. Even the kids stopped talking. I could see some of my relatives looking uncomfortable, but nobody said anything. Nobody defended me. What happened next would either break me or make me into something they could never imagine. I stood up, my prosthetic leg clicking against the hardwood floor, looked around at all those embarrassed faces, some looking at their plates, some looking away, all of them pretending they hadn't just witnessed my father disowning his son, who'd lost a leg fighting for his country. "You're right, Daddy. I have been a burden, burdening myself trying to take care of people who never cared about me, burdening myself sending money to people who spent it on luxuries while I was living like a monk, burdening myself believing that family meant something to y'all." I looked at Mama. "Mama, that $3 candle is worth more than the $73,000 I sent home, because I bought it with my own money after you threw me away." I looked at Daddy. "And Daddy, that wallet might be cheap, but it's honest, unlike the people in this room." I packed my army duffel bag, the same one I'd carried through 2 deployments. Everything I owned fit in one bag, but before I walked out that door, I did something that would come back to haunt them. I went to their home office and copied every bank statement I could find, every receipt, every piece of evidence showing my deposits and their spending. 3 years of evidence that would fuel my empire. If you are enjoying this story, please subscribe to our channel. Christmas night 2018, I was standing outside in the Birmingham cold with nowhere to go. 28 years old, one leg, and completely alone. That's when I remembered someone who'd been written off by the family just like me. My granddaddy Samuel Washington, Daddy's father. Granddaddy Sam had been estranged from the family for years. People said he was too stubborn, but I remembered him differently. He was the only one who ever treated me with respect. He taught me how to fish, how to hunt, and told me stories about our family history no one else even cared to remember. I called him from a payphone outside a gas station. "Granddaddy, it's Oliver, I need help." Without asking what happened, without asking why I was calling on Christmas night. "Boy, you come on home. I've been waiting for you." What Granddaddy Sam taught me next would turn my pain into a multi-million-dollar empire. His small farm was about an hour outside Birmingham, down a dirt road that GPS couldn't find. As I pulled up in the Uber, I could see dozens of white wooden boxes scattered around the property, beehives humming with life even in the cold December air. "Oliver," he said, wrapping me in a hug that felt like coming home. "These bees gonna teach you everything you need to know about real family. They work together, protect each other, make something sweet out of simple ingredients. They don't abandon their own when times get hard." That first night, sitting by his fireplace, I told him everything. The money I'd sent, the way they'd spent it, the way they'd thrown me out. He listened without judgment, just nodding and occasionally adding wood to the fire. "Son," he said finally, "some people see opportunity where others see obligation. You sent that money out of love, they took it out of greed. That tells you everything you need to know about the difference between you and them." Those bees didn't care about my missing leg or my broken heart. They didn't care about my PTSD or my nightmares. They cared about contribution to the collective good, about working together to create something beautiful. That's when the idea hit me, but turning it into millions would require surviving my darkest moments first. The first few weeks were brutal. PTSD hitting hard, every bee buzz sounding like incoming fire. Granddaddy would find me in the corner of the barn, shaking, thinking I was back in Afghanistan. But he never made me feel weak or broken. He'd just sit with me until the episode passed, then get back to teaching me about the bees. But I started researching the honey industry obsessively. Americans consume over 400 million pounds of honey yearly, and most of it is imported from China and other countries. Local raw honey sells for $12–15 a jar in farmers' markets, but it only costs maybe $2 to produce. And there's this massive untapped market of people wanting to support black-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, family farms. I started seeing dollar signs, but more importantly, I started seeing purpose. I started with my disability check, fund $200 a month. Granddaddy had 12 hives, but I used that first check to buy 10 more. He taught me everything: how to handle the bees without getting stung, how to harvest honey without damaging the comb, how to recognize diseases and pests. 6 months in, I started documenting my journey on Instagram, pictures of the hives, videos of me learning to work with my prosthetic leg, talking about finding peace after war. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Then one video changed everything. I posted a clip of me harvesting honey, talking about how bees work together as real family, unlike humans who abandon you when you need them most. I talked about how these creatures had given me purpose when my own blood relatives had thrown me away. 50,000 views in one day, 200,000 by the end of the week. Comments pouring in from other veterans, other people who'd been abandoned by family, other people looking for hope in their darkest moments. People started asking where they could buy my honey. That's when I realized I wasn't just making honey, I was selling hope, healing, and redemption. But turning viral fame into real money would test everything I'd learned about survival. Washington's Warrior Honey was born in Granddaddy's kitchen. First batch, 200 jars. I designed the labels myself on an old computer, featuring a bee with military dog tags. The tagline, "Sweet victory from life's battles." First-year revenue, $15,000. Not profit, revenue. But it was mine. Every dollar earned through my own sweat, my own pain, my own determination. I reinvested everything while living in Granddaddy's spare room, working 16-hour days between the bees and building the business. The work was therapeutic. When the memories hit me hard, I'd go work with the bees. When the nightmares wouldn't let me sleep, I spent the night designing marketing materials or answering customer emails. When the pain in my missing leg made me want to scream, I'd focus on packaging honey and shipping orders. By year 2, I'd learned to diversify. Lavender honey, wildflower honey, honey candies, beeswax candles, even honey-based skincare recipes that Granddaddy's grandmother used to make. Instagram hit 100,000 followers. YouTube, 200,000. Revenue jumped to $150,000, but I was still grinding, still hungry. The real breakthrough came when I started sharing my story. Not just the honey, but the betrayal, the hurt, the comeback. Videos about surviving the dark stuff, about finding family when your blood walks away, about turning pain into purpose. Then I got my first big break that would change everything. A food blogger with 2 million followers, Sarah Chen from The Honest Foodie, ordered a jar of my honey after seeing one of my videos. She tried it, loved it, and did a full review calling it liquid gold from Alabama. She posted a video of her morning toast with my honey, and everything exploded. Orders flooded in, 500 jars in 1 week, then 1,000. I hired my first employee, a local woman named Miss Betty, who'd been laid off from the textile mill. Then another, then another. But this was just the beginning of something bigger than I'd ever imagined. Meanwhile, my parents were watching from fake social media profiles, seeing my success while their own lives started crumbling. Daniel later told me they'd created burner Instagram accounts to keep tabs on me, watching my follower count grow, seeing the business expand, realizing what they'd thrown away. But they still had no idea what was coming next. March 2020, right when COVID hit, Daniel called me for the first time since Christmas 2018. "Oliver, I've been following your Instagram. Man, I'm proud of you, bro. I'm sorry about what happened. I should have defended you." We talked for 3 hours. He told me about Mama and Daddy struggling financially, about how the casino trips had stopped, about how they'd been asking him for loans. He told me they watched every single one of my videos, that Mama cried when she saw me talking about finding real family with Granddaddy Sam. "They know they messed up," Daniel said, "but they're too proud to admit it. By year 3, Washington's Warrior Honey hit $500,000 in revenue. I landed a contract with a major bakery chain worth $100,000, then another with a restaurant group worth $150,000. These weren't just sales, they were validation that I'd built something real, something sustainable. But what really set us apart was the story. Every product had a QR code that linked to videos about my journey. Customers weren't just buying honey, they were buying into a story of redemption, of proving that being thrown away doesn't mean you're worthless. By Christmas 2021, exactly 3 years after they threw me out, Washington's Warrior Honey was valued at $2.3 million. Time for my parents to learn what they'd thrown away. December 23, 2021. I pulled up to their Birmingham house in a brand new Tesla Model S. Not some used car, not Granddaddy's old truck, but rolling up like the millionaire I'd become. Custom Armani suit, Rolex Submariner glinting in the afternoon sun, confidence radiating from every step. Daniel saw me first through the window, eyes wide. "Oliver, is that really you?" When Mama came to the door, her mouth fell open. She'd gotten older, grayer, and I could see the weight of 3 years of guilt in her eyes. When Daddy appeared behind her, the expression on his face was pure shock mixed with fear. "Oliver? Son, is that your car?" "Yes, sir. Can I come in? We need to talk." What happened next was sweeter than any honey I'd ever made. Sitting on the same couch where they'd made me feel worthless, I pulled out my phone and showed them Washington's Warrior Honey. Instagram, nearly 1 million followers. YouTube, 750,000 subscribers. Website showing products sold out nationwide. "This is my company," I said calmly. "We did $750,000 in revenue this year, projected to hit 1.2 million next year." Mama started crying. Not tears of joy, but tears of guilt and regret. "Oliver, baby, we had no idea. We're so sorry. We made such a terrible mistake." Daddy tried to rewrite history. "Son, you know I always knew you had potential. We were just trying to motivate you, push you to be independent." That's when I pulled out the folder, photocopies of every bank statement, every $2,400 deposit from overseas, every casino withdrawal, every luxury purchase. "You all spent $73,000 of my combat pay on cars, trips, and casinos while I was dodging bullets and watching my friends die. Then you called me a burden when I came home missing a leg and asked for help." The room went silent. Even the TV was muted. "But here's what shocks me most," I continued. "I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because holding on to anger was holding me back from becoming who I was meant to be. However, forgiveness doesn't mean we're family again." Then Daddy showed he still didn't get it. "Son, we made mistakes. We're human, but we're family. Now that you're successful, surely you can help us out. We've got some financial problems." Even now, sitting in front of evidence of their betrayal, they were still trying to get money from me. I stood up, smoothed my suit. "Daddy, the son you threw away just built a multi-million-dollar company from nothing. The burden you couldn't stand became more successful than you ever dreamed. And you want to know the beautiful irony? I did it all without you." I handed Daniel an envelope. "Full-ride scholarship to any business school you want, plus living expenses. You're the only one who stood by me when it mattered." As I walked toward the door, my prosthetic clicking against their hardwood floor, Mama called out, "Oliver, please don't leave like this. We want to be a family again." I turned back one final time. "Mama, some things can't be fixed with apologies. Every time you see Washington's Warrior Honey in stores, every time you hear my name on the radio or see my face on TV, remember that you had the chance to be part of this journey. Instead, you chose to throw me away when I needed you most." Driving away in my Tesla, watching their house disappear in my rearview mirror, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, complete peace mixed with righteous satisfaction. But the empire was just beginning. 2022, $2 million in revenue. 2023, $3.5 million. Second facility in Atlanta, 35 employees, charitable foundation helping disabled veterans start businesses. Forbes, 30 under 30 recognition, CNN interview with Anderson Cooper, Good Morning America feature story. YouTube hit 2 million subscribers, Instagram 1.5 million. Daniel used that scholarship money to get his MBA from Emory University, graduated top of his class, and became my chief operating officer. Together, we built something neither of us had imagined possible, a real family business built on loyalty, hard work, and mutual respect. Meanwhile, my parents kept trying to reach out. Christmas cards about how proud they were, phone calls I didn't answer. They even showed up at business events, telling people they were my proud parents and that they'd supported me all along. The worst was when they went to our local Birmingham news station with a story about how they'd raised me to be independent and strong. We always knew Oliver had it in him. We taught him to stand on his own 2 feet. When that story aired, my followers who knew the truth were outraged. But I didn't respond, didn't defend myself. I let their lies speak for themselves. People who knew the real story could see right through it. 2024 brought the ultimate validation. Conagra Foods offered $15 million for 60% of Washington's Warrior honey, letting me keep controlling interest as CEO. That acquisition made me financially independent for life, but more importantly, it validated everything I'd built. I bought a mansion in the hills outside Birmingham, 8 bedrooms, Olympic-sized pool, 6-car garage, home theater, wine cellar. Not because I needed it, but because I wanted my parents to drive by and see exactly what they'd missed out on. They tried showing up to my housewarming party uninvited. Security turned them away at the gate. Last month I was at Walmart buying groceries when I saw an older black woman in the honey aisle. She picked up a jar of Washington's Warrior honey, looked at the $15 price tag, sighed, and put it back. "Excuse me, ma'am," I said. "You should try that Washington's Warrior honey. It's really good." Her eyes went wide when she recognized me. "Oh my goodness, you're Oliver Washington. I follow you on Instagram, watch all your videos. But honey, I'm on a fixed income. I can't afford $15 for honey." I bought her a whole case, 12 jars. Her tears, her hug, her blessing reminded me why I started this journey in the first place. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about revenge. It was about proving that being thrown away doesn't mean you're worthless. Today, Washington's Warrior honey employs over 100 people across 3 states, products sold in over 500 stores nationwide. My personal net worth exceeds $20 million, but more importantly, I've helped launch 50 other veteran-owned businesses through my foundation. Daniel is married now with a baby on the way. He's naming his son Samuel after Granddaddy Sam, who passed away last year at 78. His final words to me: "I'm proud of you, boy. You turned pain into purpose, rejection into redemption." My parents, still in Birmingham, still struggling. They lost their house last year, moved to a small apartment. The Escalade got repossessed. Mama's casino habit finally caught up with them. Part of me feels sorry for them, but that's the natural consequence of choosing pride over love, greed over family. They call it karma. I call it the result of throwing away a blessing. The lesson isn't about revenge, though the revenge was sweeter than Alabama wildflower honey. It's about understanding your worth when the people closest to you can't see it. It's about turning rejection into redirection, pain into purpose, trauma into triumph. Every time someone calls you a burden, remember Oliver Washington. Remember that the people who hurt you most might be doing you the biggest favor of your life. Sometimes you have to lose the family you were born into to find the family you were meant to have. If you're going through something similar right now, if people who should love you are treating you like you're worthless, listen to me. You're not a burden. You're a blessing they're too blind to see. Take that pain, that rejection, that trauma, and turn it into fuel for your empire. 5 years from now, when you're living in success they can't imagine, they'll realize what they threw away, and by then it'll be too late. This is Oliver Washington, CEO of Washington's Warrior Honey, reminding you that sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's getting everything they said you'd never have. Remember to subscribe for more stories of people who turned their pain into power, their setbacks into comebacks. They called me a burden, but I became their biggest loss and my own greatest victory. Until next time, keep building your empire, one rejection at a time. Peace and prosperity.